We spend 1 minute on Snow White and how it totally imploded at the box office this weekend. It was so delicious. The thing they spent $170 million to make the thing, and it had the lowest opening, under $50 million, of any of these live action Disney remakes that they've ever had. Even the one that was their worst, Dumbo, did better than this has done.
Rachel Zegler has been humbled. The lead actress in Disney's Snow White remake has been brought right back down to earth after making some very tone-deaf comments that haven't translated well amid the horror opening weekend of the movie.
Rachel Zegler's career is over after Snow White becomes the biggest flop in Disney's history, and now Disney just wants to get rid of her. And get this, now no one wants to work with her, and her career seems to be over before it even began. So join me today as we dive into just how one of the most arrogant actresses in Hollywood managed to destroy her career in one of the most beloved movies in history, all because she couldn't keep quiet.
I'm a narcissist.
Now, as we all know, the new Snow White remake dropped recently, and to Noone's surprise, it didn't do well. The movie completely flopped, only managing to do $43 million in the US for its opening weekend, despite its whopping $270 million budget. By comparison, other recent live-action Disney adaptations like The Lion King in 2019 made $191 million in its opening weekend domestically, and Beauty and the Beast in 2017 earned $174 million in its first weekend. But right from the beginning of its production, it was nothing but disaster after disaster. We are talking about an actor's strike, then a COVID outbreak, then a fire on set that shut down production, and all this was before the Rachel Zegler drama tanked the entire thing. They say there is no such thing as bad publicity, but Rachel Zegler single-handedly ensured this movie was going to be a failure. And don't just take my opinion on it. Go ahead and search for the reviews. People hated Rachel so bad leading up to the premiere of this movie, and things only got worse after they actually saw it. This Snow White remake is one of, if not the worst reviewed movies from Disney in a while. It only received a Rotten Tomato score. Not only that, the movie received a shocking B+ cinema score, which is an extremely low grade for this type of Disney subgenre. For comparison, got an A, and Mufasa got an A-. Now, arguably, the biggest factor for this movie doing so badly was Rachel. Y'all, ever since she got announced as the lead for this movie, it was back-to-back controversies. Now, Hollywood is known for its fair share of divas
who hates when I win. The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces, and people still line up to see her. And I can only hope that despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
but Rachel acted like she was bigger than Disney. During the press tour, many got the impression that she felt she was the Snow White Messiah, and she was too good for the role. Literally, every chance she got, she took the opportunity to throw shade on the original movie, calling it outdated. And let's be honest, we all know she was holding back on truly saying the things she was thinking. You see, Snow White has been a pivotal character for Disney for over 80 years. The original movie literally changed the course of Disney as a company. To this day, the original movie is still the highest grossing animated movie of all time. And for Rachel to insult it wasn't going to sit right with people. Now, while I understand why Rachel wanted to give a modern take on such a classic, many felt, instead of backtracking on her comments, she made them even worse after her interview with Variety, where she came out and called the original movie creepy. Not only that, it seemed Rachel was hell-bent on changing the entire identity of Snow White. The more Rachel continued to talk, it seemed like she was less interested in giving a modern take on the 1937 original, and rather her goal was just to create a whole other movie. Now, to make the entire situation worse, Rachel calls Snow White's love interest a weird stalker. During an interview with Extra TV, she said, "A guy that literally stalks her. Weird. We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because we cast a guy in the movie, Andrew Burnap, great dude. But it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful." Now, this comment in particular rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, including David Hale Hand, the son of the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs supervising director. David claimed Rachel's comments had no respect for what Walt Disney and his dad did all those years ago.
So no Prince, or a different kind of Prince?
We have a different approach to what I'm sure a lot of people will assume is a love story just because like we cast a guy in the movie.
Right.
Andrew Burnap, great dude.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I think everyone's going to have their assumptions about what it's actually going to be, but it's really not about the love story at all, which is really, really wonderful. And whether or not she finds love along the way is anybody's guess until 2024. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby. But it's one of those things.
Y'all, the backlash was so extreme that Disney had Rachel backtrack on her comments, forcing her to do an interview with Variety saying, "I would never want to box someone in and say, if you want love, then you can't work. Or if you want to work, then you can't have a family. It's not true. It's never been true. It can be very upsetting when things get taken out of context or jokes don't land. The love story is very integral. A lot of people wrote that we weren't doing that storyline anymore. We were always doing that. It just wasn't what we were talking about on that day." Now, logically speaking, any person who has received as much backlash as Rachel did would take a step back and take a different approach to the situation. But not Rachel Zegler. In fact, she went the opposite way and began criticizing Donald Trump after re-election. I don't know about you, but when you are strongly disliked celebrity, the last people you want to pick a fight with is the MAGA crowd. So, political opinions aside, celebrities and people of influence shouldn't use their platforms to spread hate. But it seems Rachel didn't get the memo because she took to her Instagram to post a series of shocking posts, one in which she said, "May Trump supporters and Trump voters and Trump himself never know peace." She then followed up with another story saying there is also a deep, deep sickness in this country that is shown in the sheer amount of people who showed up for this man who threatens our democracy. It is terrifying the number of people who stand behind what this man preaches. It is a foolish subscription to a false sense of security, of masculinity, of intelligence, of patriotism, and of humanity. There is no help, no counsel in any of them. I could go on. I won't. I feel sad. You probably do too. F this. She finally concluded her rant by saying F Donald Trump. Now, nobody in their right mind thought this would end well for her because as soon as she posted those stories, the MAGA crowd was on her. We had people demanding for Disney to fire Rachel Zegler, and if they didn't, they would boycott the movie. Y'all, the pressure for Disney to fire Rachel was so much that she was forced yet again to come out and issue an apology for her comments. Hi everyone, I would like to sincerely apologize for the election post I shared on my Instagram last week. I let my emotions get the best of me. Hatred and anger have caused us to move further and further away from peace and understanding, and I am sorry I contributed to the negative discourse. She continued, "This week has been emotional for so many of us, but I firmly believe that everyone has the right to their opinion, even when it differs from my own. I am committed to contributing positively toward a better tomorrow."
The reason we had Rachel Zegler on the docket is she's an asshole. So she came out and took a large dump on half of the country, everyone who voted for Trump. So I attacked her, and then she came out and she said, "I apologize. Like I went too far," but it wasn't sincere.
Now at this point, Disney decided to do some serious damage control because Rachel was getting way out of control. They had received a lot of backlash regarding the movie already, and it was too late to fire Rachel. So what was left to do was try and reshape her image. Disney was trying their hardest to change the public perception of Rachel, but nothing seemed to work. What seemed to make the rebranding of Raquel more difficult was Rachel herself, because the girl has said a lot of stuff during her short career. Y'all remember that one time she said that she needs to be paid every hour.
"I'm gonna stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess. I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online."
Ma'am, it is not like you are Tom Cruise risking your life with every film doing these stunts. It is not like you are Stallone doing Rambo. It's not like you are Jim Caviezel on The Passion of Christ and had your shoulder dislocated and lightning strike you and almost die.
When someone watches the movie, every time a news article or an interview trying to make Rachel seem like this lovable person would pop up, people would flood the comments and point back to the countless number of times that Rachel did and said something extremely rude, arrogant, or
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
straight up out of touch, and the examples were many. Y'all, in the weeks leading up to the premiere of the movie, it became completely evident to Disney that Rachel's reputation was way beyond saving at that point. So they decided to backtrack on the whole PR rebranding thing and instead decided to control the narrative. So instead of doing a whole big red carpet thing with press and journalists, as it's the tradition, they went for a more stripped down premiere. And as it turns out, Rachel caused so much drama that Disney was extremely afraid to put her anywhere close to a reporter. According to Martin Kleba, who voices Grumpy in the movie, Rachel Zegler basically ruined the whole thing for everyone who worked hard to make the movie. While speaking to The Hollywood Reporter, Martin gave an insight into what the effects of Rachel Zegler as Snow White was saying. It's gonna be at the El Capitan Theater, which is cool, but it's basically gonna be a pre-party, watch the movie, and that's it. There's not gonna be this whole hoopla of Disney's first effing movie they ever made. Because of all this controversy, they're afraid of the blowback from different people in society.
Alex, what has been the reaction to Disney's latest expensive own goal?
Well, the reaction has been absolutely horrible. It is the worst box office from a Disney live action remake that they've ever done in Dumbo.
Fast forward to the premiere, and just like it was expected, the movie was a flop, only making a little over $87 million globally, which is not good for such a high budget film, which had a ton of reshoots done. And now word on the street is that Disney doesn't know what to do with Rachel Zegler anymore. To make it worse for herself, the sentiment in Hollywood is that Rachel is too dangerous to work with again. It seems in the course of one movie, Rachel Zegler went from one of the most promising actors to the most hated actor in Hollywood. It's shocking, but what do y'all think? Can Rachel redeem herself, or is she just misunderstood? Let me know your opinions in the comments below. Till next time, bye.